Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're taking a truly fascinating, deeply reflective journey into the inner life. We're going to be exploring the profound teachings of Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani, a towering 12th century spiritual master, and really zeroing in on this idea of stripping away the ego to find true presence. Now, this incredible material has been beautifully compiled by Mir Ali Shah, a fellow seeker who's sharing this through the Inner Horizon podcast, and it just brilliantly weaves together the outer actions of our daily lives with these deep, inner spiritual meanings. So if you're a seeker looking for some genuine spiritual insights, you're in exactly the right place. Let's get right into it. We're going to kick things off with a rather striking Urdu couplet from the poet Allama Iqbal. He says, "Efface your existence if you wish to attain any station, for only when the seed mingles with the dust does it become the flower." Wow. I mean, it perfectly poses the central challenge of our entire journey today. Actually giving up that safe, hard seed-like state we all know and love just so we can become the flower. Think about it for a second. A seed literally cannot become a beautiful garden flower while stubbornly holding onto its shell, right? It has to willingly disappear into the soil. And naturally, that brings us to an urgent question, one that every spiritual seeker inevitably hits as they start doing the inner work. If we know we're supposed to become the flower, why do we resist the dirt so much? What is actually blocking our path? What's standing between us and the ultimate reality? Well, let's break down the milestones of overcoming these very blockages. Milestone number 1, Ar-Rida bil-Qadar, or accepting the divine decree. So let's talk about how we actually respond to the circumstances life throws at us. There's a really profound contrast here that we need to look at. See, most of us, we're actually pretty good at coping with destiny. We get hit with something hard, we fight it, we struggle internally, and then eventually, when we're totally exhausted, we kind of make peace with it, right? But true acceptance, what the Sheikh is really describing here, isn't a long, exhausting negotiation. It's contentment. It's an immediate, graceful surrender to the decree exactly as it arrives. No arguments. Now, the people who actually manage this level of immediate surrender are known as the Ahl Allah, or the people of the tablet. And the thing about these individuals is, they don't perform this theatrical, flashy worship. Instead, they just simply bring the divine with them into every single difficulty. It's like they're holding the book inside themselves as a way to navigate the day. When their circumstances shift and change, their remembrance absolutely doesn't. Why? Because the one they are remembering never changes. Moving on to our next section, burning veils of the self. To reach that incredible level of constancy, we really have to deal with what's going on inside. 70,000. The spiritual tradition actually tells us there are exactly 70,000 veils between the seeker and the ultimate truth. You lift one curtain and boom, another one is right there behind it. But what actually are these veils? Are they, magical barriers floating around in space? Not at all. The absolutely crucial point here is that these veils are really just 70,000 versions of the exact same obstacle. They are simply layers of identity. A credential you've earned, a reputation you're fiercely protecting, a virtue you're super proud of, heck, even your own pious acts. We treat all these things as if they are us. The veil is simply our own stubborn conviction that we are a someone, an ego that we absolutely refuse to let burn away. And that leads us directly to the state of fana. The Sheikh says that in a certain interior region, the burning will literally enter you. Now, fana isn't the annihilation of the soul, don't worry. It's actually the annihilation of the sense of being a separate self. It's that precise moment where the wood of our ego, all that fuel of the I, is just entirely used up. When there's literally nothing left to burn, that ultimate veil between us and the real finally drops into silence. Okay, so moving from the deep interior to our actual physiology, we have to ask how our physical form fits into all this effacement. The question we should be asking isn't, what does my body want? The real question is, what is my body for? And is it actually doing that work? Which brings us to section 3, the donkey of the body. This perfectly illustrates the middle way of spirituality, and it's summed up beautifully by a rather blunt, visceral metaphor from an early teacher, Sufyan al-Thawri. He viewed his own physical body as a working animal. He'd say, the slave is just a donkey. Give the slave as much as he can eat and make him work flat out. I mean, it's incredibly blunt, isn't it? But honestly, it's also incredibly freeing. He didn't starve the donkey, but he certainly didn't pretend it was some noble companion either. It needed just enough care to function and absolutely no more. Think about the stark comparison here. Most modern spiritual programs out there either totally pamper the body or they brutally punish it. But the Sheikh is teaching the middle way. We aren't supposed to hate our physical form, but we aren't supposed to pamper it either. We just have to remember that the donkey is the mount, not the rider. You keep it fed just enough to climb the mountain and tired enough to sleep at night. But there is a pretty frightening alternative here if we just go through the religious motions. What happens if we're managing the body perfectly, but we completely fail to secure the inner reality? What happens when the physical form outlasts the spiritual content? Let's look at Section 4, Guarding Against Stone Hearts. You see, this metamorphosis into a stone heart, it doesn't happen overnight. It's actually a terrifyingly slow drain of inner remembrance that happens one tiny compromise at a time. First, it's just a slight reduction in care for the teachings. Then you do a little internal negotiation where you justify cutting a corner here or there. And ultimately, you're left with step 3. The outward form remains, but the content completely drains out. You're still walking, talking, and praying, but the interior purpose has completely calcified. And here is the early warning sign you really need to watch out for. It's the inability to be moved by a verse that once brought you to tears. You might still be fasting and outwardly participating in everything, but if the teachings no longer stir anything inside you, that metamorphosis into stone has already begun. Section 5. Architecture of our actions. So if the external form just isn't enough on its own, how in the world should we view our everyday actions? Well, the Shape provides a really careful, stern theology here. He says that ta'a, or obedience, is the work of paradise, and masya, sinful disobedience, is the work of the fire. But pay close attention to what he isn't saying. He is not saying that obedience somehow mathematically forces God to give you paradise. This right here is a massive paradigm shift. We have to completely abandon this transactional mindset, viewing religion as some sort of cosmic vending machine where our inputs earn guaranteed outputs. Instead, we need to view religion as architecture. Our works, our prayers, our good deeds, they simply provide the building materials for the kind of spiritual home we want to live in. But final entry into that home, that rests entirely on divine grace. God rewards without reference to the work. We don't pray as a currency to buy heaven. We pray because prayer is literally what the garden is made of. And that brings us to Section 6, Attaining the Sound Heart. All these steps we've covered today, the donkey discipline, building our architecture, the burning of our veils, they all converge on one single ultimate objective, the Qalb-e Salim, the sound heart. You see, on the day of resurrection, all our credentials, our wealth, our reputations, all of that is going to completely vanish. The only thing, the absolute only currency that crosses that final border is a sound heart, a heart emptied of all its tiny little idols and firmly resting in his presence. To actually build this sound heart, Mir Ali Shah invites us, through the Inner Horizon podcast, to carry forward these gentle personal reflections. Be content with life's decree exactly as it arrives. Keep your physical body, your donkey, fed and tired. Watch your heart closely for that numbness of stone. Abandon the commerce of spiritual transactions. And finally, consent to be planted. Remember, you absolutely cannot force effacement upon yourself. You can only consent to it. You just place yourself in the hands of the gardener. Because ultimately, as we learned from Iqbal at the very beginning of this explainer, the seed cannot become a flower without losing its seedness and mingling with the dust. You cannot be a flower while holding on to the safety of being a seed. So what are you going to choose? Are you going to keep negotiating with the gardener, or will you consent to be planted? Think on that for a bit. Thank you for joining me on this inner journey, and until next time, keep exploring.